Sikil Gurucharan has to go for another concert. So I would request the Honorable Governor to kindly felicitate him along with Shruti Sarathi, who played violin so beautifully, and Adudurai Guru Prasad on the Mridangam. Guru Charan's father has come. So that was the reason why he was subdued. And then his wife entered. Suddenly he was spirited. Come, Shruti. வயலின் வாசிப்பவருக்கு இதை விட பொருத்தமான பெயர் இருக்க முடியாது. ஒரு ஸ்ருதியாக இருந்து இந்த நிகழ்ச்சியை சாரதியாக நடத்தி கொடுத்தார் என்று சொல்லலாம். Adudurai Guru Prasad. வாசித்ததே தெரியாமல் வாசிப்பதுதான் ஒரு கலைஞருடைய சிறப்பு. Thank you. Please remain seated. Our once more, கலைஞருக்கு கரவொலி தான் சன்மானம். A small glimpse about our VVS Aiyer. Varaganeri Venkatesan Subramanya Aiyer, more fondly known as VVS Aiyer. And when he gave the slip to Scotland Yard police, and when they saw his name as VVS on the suitcase, he said, "I'm Veer Vikram Singh," because he could speak Punjabi, Hindi, Hindustani, many languages faultlessly. Many of you may not be aware that he was proficient in 17 languages. And he read literature in 17 languages. He read Iliad, Odyssey in the original. It was after that this book was written by him. When he was, during his second stint, after his return from Pondicherry in 1920, he took over from Thiruvi Kalyanasundaranar as the editor of Desabhaktan newspaper. And again, he was charged with sedition and he was taken to the prison in Bellary. At that time, he knew that Subramanya Bharati was ailing. So he took special permission from the police and visited him in Thiruvallikeni here and admonished him, "Marundu saapduda," because Bharati refused to take medicine. So he admonished him, take medicine. Bharati shook his head from side to side and said, "Narayana." Then he just, there was a tearful farewell which Chellamma gave him. From there, he went to Bellary jail. In that Bellary jail, he wrote this masterpiece. You can truly call this a magnum opus, because there are very few people who have read the literature of, of so many languages and compare them with Kamba. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would request all of you to do a pranam to VVS Aiyer, one of the brilliant, illustrious sons of Bharat Mata. That is what we can show. And to welcome you all formally to this function, I invite Justice S. Jagadishan. இவரை பார்த்தா நமக்கு எப்பவுமே ஒரு இலக்கிய பேச்சாளர் மாதிரியே தெரியும். இங்கே இருக்கும் பொழுது இவர் கோர்ட்டில் என்ன செய்வார் என்ற நமக்கு கேள்வியும், இவர் கோர்ட்டில் இருக்கும் பொழுது இவர் இலக்கிய மேடையில் என்ன செய்வார் என்கின்ற கேள்வியும் நமக்கு மாறி மாறி எழுவது உண்டு. So he played this dual role of a connoisseur of literature and a justice with aplomb. Sir.
Today's chief guest, the Honorable Governor of Tamil Nadu, Mr. Ravi, the president of the function, Mr. Ali Kupchamjitya, Dr. Sudha Sheshayan, Dr. P.A. Ramachandran, K.N. Ramswamy, Savangadachalam. The Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan is known for its multifunctional activities, apart from renting out the auditorium for cultural activities, devotional lectures, as well as literary discussions. It also engages in publishing its well-known monthly journal and at times publishing a few literature books authored by a very good and renowned authors which are out of circulation or out of print. Today's event is one such of the release of Bhavan's publication of Kamba Ramayana, a study by late VVS Aiyer, a scholar of his days. Only very few authors are able to give non-controversial and lucid study, and I am glad to say that this book is one of that type. Prior to the release of this function, we enjoyed the rendition of Kamba Ramayana songs by Thiru Sikkal Gurucharan, a famous vocalist. I thank him for the same, and on behalf of the Bhavan, I also welcome him. The release of the book, the Honorable Governor, Tiriti, Mr. Ravi, is with us. Normally, for Bhavan's function, he accepts the invitation or request without any hesitation, in spite of his pressure of work. Since he himself is associated with the Bhavan for a very long time. Moreover, he is keenly interested in the literature also, which could be seen from his speeches. Bhavan's very much obliged to him for his acceptance of our request to release the book Kamba Ramayanam, a study by VVS Aiyer. I welcome you, sir, on behalf of the Bhavan, Chennai Kendra, with folded hands. The president of the function, a multifaceted personality, a popular figure in the cultural field, became because of his benevolence, and in the field of textile due to his expertise and of his human nature with the customers and the weavers, as he regards both of them as his masters. As Mahatma Gandhi said, the customers are the masters. Because of this, he dedicated his Padma Bhushan award, we recently has been given, to the weavers, through whose supply of quality material he is able to compete in the textile business and made a mark of himself. Thus, Tirunalli Kupswamy has made a very known popular figure in all circles in Tamil, Chennai. Though he is part of Bhavan, still I have to thank him for sparing some time to be with us in spite of his multifarious activities. I extend my warm welcome to him. Dr. Sudha Sheshayan, a former Vice Chancellor, Dr. MGR Medical University, a very good Tamil scholar who almost well-versed with the Tamil world literature, whether it is Kavyam or Kapyam or Idihasam, is with us. She is with us as a guest of honor. She do research in everything. Her recent Todar article in Namadu Surabi regarding Madras Bhasha, she almost discussed the history of various languages. I read it regularly. A very prominent Tamil speaker who is well conversant in English also. A speaker in need on any subject in Tamil, more so in Kamba Ramayanam, Periya Puranam, Nalayira Divi Paramandam, etc. Dr. Piriya Ramachandran who is also a medical profession, a pediatric surgeon, a gold medalist, developed interest in Kamba Ramayanam. She also FRCS, sorry. She developed the interest in Kamba Ramayanam, in Tamil literature, especially as we saw the explanation and the translation which gave while the Kamba Ramayanam songs were singing. He is a very regular speaker in Pattimandrams also. The two guests of honors are the medical field, but out of their love for literature, especially Tamil literature, they studied those books and engaged themselves in the literature discussion. Both of them are members of committee of Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan. So this book, the release of the book is almost a Bhavan's family function. I welcome you both, the sisters. I also welcome K.N. Ramsamy, the director of the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, who is the man of the Bhavan or the man behind the Bhavan. Yeah, but for him, the Bhavan could not have any functions. In fact, out of 365 days, we are having almost 550 functions in the year. That is only because of his dedicated service. And he is now being ably assisted by the Deputy Director, Mr. Venkatachalam, who is also here. So Gopalakrishnan is there, who is also a member of the Bhavan. And I extend my warm welcome to each and every one of you who was present here. But for you, the function will not be a successful one, because you are the audience are the main personalities to make the function with success. With this, I extend my warm welcome to each and every one of who was present here, and I thank for the opportunity given to me.
Thank you very much, sir. I mean, true to your designation, you have done justice to everyone on the dais and also among the audience. Sir, it's not a matter of surprise that our Honorable Governor is part of Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan. Because Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan is not an institution, but a movement, a cultural movement, a perennial movement. And it is very fitting and natural that our Honorable Governor is part of this movement. And நம்ம எல்லோருக்கும் பத்மபூஷன் விருதை ஏற்று சிறப்பு செய்த நல்லியார் அவர்களை ஆளுநர் அவர்களுக்கு சிறப்பு செய்யுமாறு தாழ்மையுடன் கேட்டுக்கொள்கிறேன். I'm requesting Nalliyar to felicitate our Honorable Governor. Sir, we are very sure that you will really enjoy, you will like this memento. Okay, okay. Thank you very much, sir. Sir, I seek your permission to flaunt, I would use the word flaunt, two illustrious women who are sitting on the dais. I am their admirers. They represent, I would say, the Tamil poets of the Vedic times, the Rishi Munis of the Vedic, Tamil poets of the Sangam period, and then the wives of Rishis, who were all great women of the Vedic past. They represent them also. And they also imbibed in them the Pudumai pen of Mahakavi Subramanya Bharati. This is what comes to my mind when I see Dr. Sudha Seshayan and Dr. Priya Ramachandran. It is a matter of privilege for all of us that they are in the limelight in their own right. Irandu Maberum Maruthuvargal, both of them are in their medical professions, and they have done all of us proud in their professions. Inge Dr. MGR University Vice Chancellor irundu சமீபத்தில் அந்த பணியிலிருந்து ஓய்வு பெற்று எந்த நேரமும் வாழ்க்கையில் ஓய்வில்லாமல் உழைத்துக் கொண்டிருக்கின்ற டாக்டர் சுதா சேஷையன் அவர்கள், டாக்டர் பிரியா ராமச்சந்திரன் பீடியாட்ரிக் சர்ஜன் அவரால் குணமடைந்த குழந்தைகள் மட்டுமல்ல, அந்த குழந்தைகளின் பெற்றோர்கள் எத்தனையோ பேர், எத்தனையோ உள்ளங்களுக்கு ஒத்தடம் கொடுக்கக்கூடிய தாய் போல விளங்குகின்ற டாக்டர் பிரியா ராமச்சந்திரன். I would and their contribution to the Tamil, the world of Tamil literature is immense. I think only in future their contribution will be well known. When it is happening, we take it lightly, we take it easily. ஆனால் இன்றைக்கு நான் இதை இங்கே சொல்ல கடமைப்பட்டிருக்கிறேன். எனக்கு உரிமையும் கடமையும் இருக்கிறது. இந்த பெண்மணிகளுடைய சேவை பிற்காலத்தில் நன்கு பேசப்படும், மதிப்போடு பேசப்படும். The future will sing the praise of these illustrious women. I would request our Honorable Governor to felicitate them. Dr. Sudha Seshayan first. Yes. இங்க ரெண்டு பேர் Kamban's pet daughters. These two doctors are pet daughters of கவி சக்கரவர்த்தி கம்பன் என்றே நாம சொல்லலாம். Who is VVS அப்படின்ற கேள்விகள் இன்றைக்கும் இருக்கு. யார் இந்த VVS அப்படின்ட்டு? ரெவல்யூஷனரி, அஹிம்சாவாதி, லிங்குவிஸ்ட், ரைட்டர், வேர்ட்ஸ்மித், ஹிஸ்டாரியன், நாவலிஸ்ட், அஸ்ட்ரானமர், எடிட்டர், ஜேர்னலிஸ்ட், டிரான்ஸ்லேட்டர், ஃபிட்னஸ் ஃப்ரீக், ஸ்போர்ட்ஸ்மேன், மார்க்ஸ்மேன், ஸ்விம்மர், டீச்சர், இப்படி எவ்வளோ அட்மினிஸ்ட்ரேட்டர் எல்லாமே சொல்லலாம். He was all this and a little more. நீங்க எவ்வளவு attributes VVS கொடுத்தாலும் he will always be a little more than this. A person who passed matriculation when he was 12, 5th rank, அப்போ province of Madras அதுல. Then he took his BA when he was 16, first class first. Then in law exam, first class. Then when he completed his law in England, he was 26. Since he refused to take oath of allegiance to the king, அவரால அங்க பிராக்டிஸ் பண்ண முடியல. He could not do that. But incidentally, he stood first in the Roman law course. அதுக்கப்புறம் அவர் அங்கேருந்து he escaped to France to evade arrest because he was issued a warrant. அவர் ராஜ விசுவாசத்துக்கு விரோதமாக நடந்ததாக அப்போ. So இப்படி ஒரு மனிதரை பத்தி நம்ம பார்க்கிறோம். ஒரு சின்ன குறிப்பு, on the day he landed in London, his life took a turning point, a decisive turning point. He was dressed immaculately in European attire அப்போ, and he landed in India House in London. அங்க he wanted to meet somebody in charge, and I would like to stay here, learn English, ballroom dance and opera singing. இது மூணு. It was for this that he went to India House. And it is our destiny that the gentleman whom he met that day, on the day of his landing in London, was Veer Savarkar. He turned the course of his life entirely and decisively. The rest is momentous history, adventurous history. So that was what VVS is all about. There are a lot, but the eminent speakers will share a lot of information with you. May I call upon Dr. Sudha Seshayan, Director, Shastra Deemed University, and our very dear sister to address the gathering.
உலகம் யாவையும் தாமுள வாக்கலும் நிலைபெறுத்தலும் நீக்கலும் நீங்களா அலகிலா விளையாட்டுடையார் அவர் தலைவர் அன்னவர்க்கே சரண் நாங்களே. Pranams to the Honorable Governor of Tamil Nadu and to the distinguished members of the gallery. Allow me to recall that particular incident that happened on a September afternoon. The city of Madras, the British city of Madras, was trembling with the terror waves of the erroneously famous Deshabhaktan sedition case. Varaganeri Venkata Subramanya Aiyer was convicted by a judgment which was pronounced that afternoon. The man who did not write the particular piece, the editorial piece, was convicted. The man who was not in the rolls of the particular newspaper, news journal, for the last about 32 days was convicted. The man who refused to apologize for the particular piece was convicted. He refused to apologize not because he did not write it, but because he felt no Bharatiya son should apologize for a piece that glorifies Bharatamata. He was convicted. A 9-month imprisonment was thrust on him, and that was, as Ramananji informed earlier, on the afternoon of 11th of September 1921. As the police took control of VVS and wanted him to be moved to the penitentiary, VVS had but one request: let me meet my friend in Triplicane. And he went to Thiruvallikeni, Bharati's house, and that is when he said, Marundu Saapudu Pandiya. The next morning, Mahakavi Bharatiyar had attained liberation from this world. However, VVS was confined to the penitentiary. From the penitentiary, he was moved to the Bellary Central Jail. He spent the first 3 months in the Bellary Central Jail reading Kamba Ramayana. After 3 months, he wrote to one of his friends by name Adimurti. This friend resided in Kashi, and he requested Adimurti to send the English translations of Valmiki Ramayana and Tulasi Ramayana, and also send Lokmanya Tilak's Gita Rahasya, all because he wanted to complete his study of the Kamba Ramayana in the remaining 6 months. Bellary Central Jail was the place where VVS wrote his magnum opus, Kamba Ramayana, a study. The publication of this book has an equally checkered history. VVS met with his tragic end on the 3rd of June 1925. His manuscript was lying there. Not only the manuscript of Kamba Ramayana, a study, but also other manuscripts, the life of Chandragupta Maurya, the life of Guru Gobind Singh, and so many other books. VVS had written a book on Napoleon, and it's interesting to note the subscript in the first edition of Kamba Ramayana, a study, states, this particular manuscript was confiscated by the late British government in India. It does not say the then British government. You find there late VVS Aiyer and the publishers of the first edition of Kamba Ramayana, a study, stated Napoleon manuscript was confiscated by the late British government. The first edition of Kamba Ramayana, a study, was published by the Delhi Tamil Sangam in the year 1950. And very unfortunate, when the Delhi Tamil Sangam took hold of the manuscript, took the permission to publish the same from the son of VVS Aiyer, they did not find a suitable publisher. I quote from the preface written by the then publishers. Quote, "We are publishing this book due to a famine of publishers, of whom there are too many more worthy than us to publish it. If the gods had been kind, this work would probably have been published a quarter of a century ago by reputed English publishers under the sponsorship of the great Irish poet George Russell, more widely known as A.E. They could not find another publisher, and Delhi Tamil Sangam decided to publish the work. However, there was a difficulty. They wanted to publish all that VVS had written. Unfortunately, VVS had not completed his intended study. He wanted to write on Sita. He had reserved his chapter on Sita for the end. But before he could complete his chapter on Sita, he was released from the jail. And subsequently, when he landed in Trichy and then in Chermadevi, things took different turn, and he did not complete his chapter on Sita at all. The Delhi Tamil Sangam then requested A. Srinivasa Raghavan, Asira as he was fondly called, to complete the chapter on Sita and also to edit the manuscript. Asira willingly agreed, but again, as fate would have it, Asira fell sick and he could not do that. Delhi Tamil Sangam subsequently decided to add the chapter on Sita, and we still do not know who wrote the chapter. It is only that a member of Delhi Tamil Sangam wrote the chapter on Sita. In 1965, when the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan wanted to publish 100 books in English as part of the university series, wherein Munshiji refers, if only one reads these 100 books, one would get the benefits of higher education. Of those 100, Kamba Ramayana, a study, was selected, and the Bhavan published it in 1965, June 1965. Kamba Ramayana, a study, was essentially not for the Tamil population or for the Bharatiya population. VVS wanted to tell the world that this magnificent land of ours has wonderful epics which talk about dharma and not about mere mortal characters. Incidentally, Kamba Ramayana, a study, should be read by everyone who attempts any work on comparative literature. Anyone who tries to compare two works of literature, be it in any language or any part of the world, I personally believe they should read Kamba Ramayana, a study, first. The third chapter of Kamba Ramayana, a study, is titled In Media Re. As earlier quoted, VVS was adept in 17 languages. He knew Latin, he knew German, he knew French, and he followed Veer Savarkar to India. The very reason he came back to the shores of India was to follow Veer Savarkar. It's indeed a coincidence that VVS was lodged in Madras Penitentiary, wherein Veer Savarkar was also lodged for some time. And what is this chapter on medias res about? He starts the chapter like this. The reader will have noticed that the Ramayana follows in its natural order the life of the hero from his birth and childhood up to the close of the action, which forms its theme. On the other hand, the epics of Europe, as is well known, follow their prototype and example, the Iliad, and start the story as near the end as possible. I would just summarize the whole thing and tell what it is. all the Indian epics start from scene 1 and proceed chronologically. We have any number of Ramayanas in this country. Tamil Ramayana, Telugu Ramayana, Hindi, Bhojpuri, Brij Bhasha, Assamese, Bengali, everything. And we've been hearing Ramayanic stories, the Rama story, from time immemorial. And we all know Ramayana will start where? It will either start with the rule of Dasharatha or the Putrakameshti Yaga or at the most Ramajananam. என்னைக்காவது ராவணன் சீதைய தூக்கின் போனாங்கிற இடத்துல ராமாயணம் ஆரம்பிக்குமா? That is the basic difference between the Eastern system and the Western system. The Western system is based on Aristotle's Poetics, and VVS gives a detailed description of Aristotle and Aristotle's Poetics. Aristotle in his Poetics says, an epic will be an epic only if it starts close to the climax. Only then it can be graded an epic. Otherwise, the epic fails. And VVS categorically comments, if we only follow Aristotelian poetics, none of the Bharatiya epics will qualify to be epics. You know, the gross difference between the Eastern system and the Western system. மேலை காப்பியங்கள்லாம் எங்கேயாவது ஒரு இடத்துல போய் கிளைமேக்ஸ்ல தான் வெடிக்கணும். அதுக்கப்புறம் ஃபிளாஷ்பேக் வரும். ஆனா கீழை காப்பியங்கள் அப்படி இல்லை. ராமாயணம் நமக்கு காலம் காலமா தெரியும். புதுசா ராமாயணம் கேட்கணுங்கிறதுக்காக 2025 சீதைய ராவணனுக்கு பதிலா வேற யாரோ தூக்கிக்கிட்டு போனாங்கன்னு சொல்ல முடியாது. அதே கதைதான், அதே கதைதான், அதே ராமர் தான், அதே தசரதர் தான், அதே சீதை தான். எத்தனை வருஷம் இந்த கதையை கேட்டாலும் ஆரம்பத்திலேருந்து தான் கதை தொடங்கும். இதுக்கு என்ன காரணம்? That is what he analyzes. இதுக்கு என்ன காரணம்? வெஸ்டர்ன் எபிக்ஸ் எல்லாம் இலியடா இருக்கட்டும், ஆடிசியா இருக்கட்டும், எதுவா வேணாலும் இருக்கட்டும், it is the history or the story that is important. ட்ரோஜன் என்ன ஆச்சு? கதை முக்கியம். இங்க கதை முக்கியம் இல்ல, தர்மம் முக்கியம். தர்மம் முக்கியம்னு சொன்னா, it is not the story, it is not the emphasis on the story, or it is not making the reader get a firm grip on the story that is important, but the reader will have to realize dharma. அதுதான் கம்பராமாயணா ஸ்டடி அப்படின்னு விவிஎஸ் எழுதுறதுக்கு காரணம். எத்தனையோ நூல்களை விவிஎஸ் எழுதினார். வெரி அன்பார்ச்சுனேட், அவருடைய குறுந்தொகை டிரான்ஸ்லேஷன் இஸ் லாஸ்ட் even in 1950. The first edition quotes குறுந்தொகை, translation of the ancient classical Tamil epic. Unfortunately, the unpublished manuscript lost during the 1942 disturbances. VVS knew many things. As rightly told by Ramananji, he knew many languages. He was many things rolled into one. However, he also knew and wanted to impart the information that dharma is the sole anchor of humankind. இந்த புத்தகத்தை எழுதினது அதுதான் அவருடைய பர்பஸ். இத வெஸ்டர்ன் ரீடர்ஸ்க்காகத்தான் எழுதினார். அதனுடைய ப்ரிஃபேஸ்லயே இருக்கும், with over verse translations or poetic prose translations of more than 4,000 verses of the original. கம்பராமாயணத்தில் இருக்கிற 4000 பாட்டுக்கு அதுல அவர் இங்கிலீஷ் டிரான்ஸ்லேஷன் கொடுத்திருப்பார். இதை நிறைய கம்பேர் பண்ணியிருப்பார். ஈலியடோட, ஆடிசியோட, காளிதாசரோட, வால்மீகியோட நிறைய கம்பேர் பண்ணியிருப்பார். ஆனால் கம்பேர் பண்ணி அல்டிமேட்லி ஆல் தட் ஹி வாண்ட்ஸ் டு சே இஸ் தர்மா இஸ் ஆல் ப்ரிவேலிங். அந்த தர்மத்துக்காகத்தான் ராமா ஸ்டோரி. தட் வாஸ் இஸ் சோல் பர்பஸ் அண்ட் சோல் ஒப்ஜெக்டிவ். ஜெயில இருக்கும்போது 6 மாசம் அதுல கூட அவருடைய டைரிஸ் எடுத்து பார்த்தபோது அந்த டைரிஸ்ல ஒரு சின்ன பிட் இருந்தது. என்ன பிட்டுன்னு கேட்டா, a faded cutting from a newspaper, and that cutting quoted records in daily or weekly output of writing by famous authors. ஒவ்வொரு ஆத்தரும் ஒரு நாளைக்கு இல்ல ஒரு வாரத்துக்கு எவ்வளவு எழுதுவார்கள். ஜான்சன் used to write 20,000 words in a week. Mark Twain used to write 4,000 words in a day. And then VVS dated his manuscripts and also wrote down how many words he had written in a day. And in the 6 months, 9 months of prison life, 3 months was engaged in study. The latter 6 months, in those 6 months, Aiyer had written a little over 140,000 words, which have gone into this particular book. ஹிந்தியில் எழுதுவார், தமிழ்ல எழுதுவார், இங்கிலீஷ்ல எழுதுவார். அவருடைய டைரியை பார்த்தா ரொம்ப ஆச்சரியமா இருக்கும். அந்த டைரியில தமிழ் லெட்டர்ஸ் எழுதியிருப்பார், அழகான கையெழுத்து. தமிழ் நம்பர்ஸ் தமிழ் ஸ்டைல்ல எழுதியிருப்பார். I don't know how many of you are aware. There is a numerical system in Tamil. 1 அப்படின்னு எழுதணும்னா கான்னு எழுதணும், 2க்கு ஊன்னு எழுதணும், 3 எழுதணும்னா ங அப்படிங்கிறத கொஞ்சம் உடைச்சி எழுதணும். அந்த நியூமரிக்கல் ஸ்டைல்ல எழுதியிருக்கார். And he has written down everything. சின்ன 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 விஷயத்தை கூட தன்னுடைய டைரியில எழுதி வச்சு அந்த டைரி மேனுஸ்கிரிப்டை வச்சுத்தான் this entire book was later on published. And today, Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan Chennai Kendra is publishing another edition of Kamba Ramayana, a study by VVS Aiyer. ஒரே ஒரு விஷயம் மாத்திரம். Kamba Ramayanam has so many sections. It has 6 major cantos. And there are lots of portions which are called Padalam. There is one Padalam in the Yuddha Kanda. And this Padalam talks about Hiranyan, talks about Prahlada and Hiranya. When Kamba Ramayana was brought to the limelight, when it was brought to Arangetram, there was a kind of a question. The question was, why should you have the story of Narasingha here? Narasingha is a different avatar, and there's nothing connected to the Rama story. Why should you have one long padalam on Narasingha? And it's very uniquely fitted. It is like Vibhishna talking to Ravana and Vibhishna narrating the story of Prahlada and Hiranya. The question was, when Vibhishna is trying to tell something and all of them are panicking because things have taken a different turn in Lanka, you think Vibhishna will be talking such a lengthy dialogue and kind of, telling about some story which happened quite long ago. And it is usually said in the Srirangam temple, the Mettu Narasimhar who is there, அங்க இருக்கிற அந்த மேட்டு நரசிங்கர் தூண்ல வந்து ஆஹான்னு அப்ளாட் பண்ணினார். அதனால இட் வாஸ் an approval from நரசிங்கம் itself. இந்த பாட்டு இருக்கணும், இந்த படலம் இருக்கணும்னு மேட்டு நரசிங்கர் சொன்னார் அப்படின்னு ஒரு கதை உண்டு, கர்ண பரம்பரை கதை. VVS Ramayana study முடிச்சதுக்கு அப்புறம் ஒரு இடத்துல கமெண்ட் அடிக்கிறார். Ramayana மொத்தம் காணாம போனா போகட்டும். கடல்கோள் வந்து சுனாமி வந்து even if the entire Ramayana is lost, I would not be unhappy if only the Yuddha Kandam remains, let the rest of it be lost. The சொல்லிட்டு அடுத்தது சொன்னார், யுத்த காண்டம் மொத்தமா தொலைஞ்சு போனா கூட போகட்டும், அந்த ஹிரண்யன் வதை படலம் மட்டும் இருந்தா போறோம், அது ஒண்ணு கம்பராமாயணத்துக்கு ஆங்கர் அப்படின்னு சொன்னவர் VVS. டைரக்ட் ஸ்டோரி இல்ல அது. ஹிரண்யன் வதை படலம்ங்கிறது ராமா ஸ்டோரியே இல்ல, இட் இஸ் அ கிளைக்கதை. ஆனா அந்த கிளைக்கதை இருந்தா போரும், ஏன்னா அதுல இருக்கிற தர்மம் ராமா ஸ்டோரியினுடைய மொத்த தர்மம். And that was VVS. I am extremely honored to be part of this release function today. VVS-னுடைய அந்த புத்தகத்தை மீண்டும் எல்லோரும் படிப்பதற்கு வழி செய்யும்படியாக கிட்டத்தட்ட எல்லாரும் மறந்து போன வாவேசு ஐயர் 42 வயதில் கல்யாண தீர்த்தத்துல எந்த அகஸ்தியர் கல்யாண தீர்த்தத்துல இருக்காருன்னு சொல்றோமோ அந்த அகஸ்தியரோடு சேர்ந்து போன வாவேசு. வாவேசு அன்றைக்கு கல்யாண தீர்த்தத்தில் கலந்து போனார். அவர் அப்படி கலந்து போனதை பார்த்துட்டு தான் அதுவரைக்கும் சின்னுவாக இருந்த ராமகிருஷ்ண மடத்தை சேர்ந்தவர் சுவாமி சித்பவானந்தர் என்று வெளியில் வந்தார். வாவேசு இன்றைக்கும் நம்மோடு இருக்கிறார் என்பதை நமக்கு சொல்லுவது அந்த புத்தகம் கம்பராமாயணா ஸ்டடி. இந்த புத்தகத்தினுடைய இந்த விழாவில் பங்கேற்பதற்கு நெஞ்சார பெருமை அடைகிறேன், கர்வப்படுகிறேன். இந்த வாய்ப்பினை கொடுத்த எல்லோருக்கும் என்னுடைய நெஞ்சார்ந்த நன்றிகள். முக்கியமாக வாவேசு ஐயருக்கும் கவி சக்கரவர்த்திக்கும் என்னுடைய சென்னி பணிந்த வணக்கங்கள். நன்றி.
Thank you very much, Sudhaji. As usual, your talk was something like a mini treatise. I'm sorry we are running out of time. I don't want to be the culprit. So without further ado, I would request Dr. Priya Ramachandran to say a few words. Kamban Tirumagale Varuga.
Your Excellency, the Governor of Tamil Nadu, Sri R. N. Ravi, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored and humbled that you have chosen me to receive the first copy of Kamba Ramayana study by VVS Aiyer. I had a photocopy of this book with me and I took it to Srirangam, where I had the golden opportunity of meeting the Honorable Prime Minister of this great country, Sri Narendra Modi ji. I presented this book to him. That was an unforgettable moment. That was a momentous occasion. That was a momentous occasion for several reasons. That was a momentous occasion because we were narrating the Kamba Ramayanam in the Kamban Mandapam 1,000 years after Kamban had first narrated it in that very place. It was a momentous occasion because the Honorable Prime Minister was listening to our narration. It was also a momentous occasion because he was moved by the poetry and the mellifluous music. At the end of the event, when I presented the book to him, he said to me, "Mujhe bhav mila." I experienced the beauty, he said, and he repeated that in several interviews subsequently. In one interview, he said, "Listening to the verses of the Kamba Ramayanam in Srirangam is an experience I will never forget for the rest of my life." He became the first Prime Minister of this country to pay his respects to the great poet Kamban. The Kamba Ramayanam is a magnum opus. There is no equal, there is nothing like it in the world of literature. But history carries very few details about Kamban. We do not know if Kamban is his real name, or if it is surname, or if it is surname. History is also vague about the time period in which he lived. But history may have neglected Kamban. Time has honored him. And 1,000 years later, here we are talking about the Kamba Ramayanam. When he was asked why he chose the Rama story for his epic, he said, "Aasai patri arayalutren kasil kotrathu Raman kadayaro." I'm in love with the story. And so I retold it, he said. It is this enduring love that has ensured that this epic also endures. It is this enduring love that made VVS Aiyer translate this epic while he was in prison. He might have been in prison, but there is no sorrow in his words. There is no grief in his words. The burden he carried, the trauma he underwent, that is not reflected in this book. This book is pure, unadulterated joy. The joy he read the joy he experienced when he read the Kamba Ramayana. The joy of experiencing Kamban's lofty thought. The joy of experiencing Kamban's word power that is clearly reflected in this book. He has translated over 4,000 songs, but he has also chosen one of my favorites, and that is what I'm going to quote to you today. It is a song where Kamban explains or describes the transformation that occurred in Ravana when Surpanagai first told him about Sita. Kamban says, "Mailudai chayalalai vanjiya munnam நீண்ட எயிலுடை இலங்கை நாதன் இதயமாம் சிறையில் வைத்தான். அயிலுடை அரக்கர் உள்ளம் அவ்வழி மெல்ல மெல்ல வெயிலுடை நாளிலுற்ற வெண்ணெய் போல் வெதும்பிற்று அன்றே." Aiyer translates, before he captured that dainty damsel who was as beautiful as a peacock, he imprisoned her in the dungeons of his heart. The dungeons of his heart, he says. And because of that, his heart slowly melted away like butter placed under the hot sun. He captures the essence of the verse. He captures the emotions of the poet, and he gives it to us in lucid English for us to understand. I hope this book finds a place in bookshelves in every house, in every library. And I hope that the fame and glory of Kamba Ramayanam reaches the far corners of this nation. That is my humble prayer. Thank you once again for this opportunity.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Priyaji. Now we come to the crux of this evening's function, a release of the book Kamba Ramayana, a study by VVS. Honorable Governor will release the copy, and Dr. Priya Ramachandran will receive the first copy. Thank you very much, sir. நல்லியார் அவர்கள் இப்பொழுது அவருடைய சிறப்புரையை வழங்குவார்கள். ரத்ன சுருக்கமாக பேசக்கூடிய ஆற்றல் பெற்றவர் நல்லியார் அவர்கள். வருக.
Your Excellency, the Governor of Tamil Nadu, it is a great honor for all of us to receive Your Excellency in our midst for this book release function organized by the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan. We know Your Excellency is very much interested in our ancient arts, culture and literature. The book Kamba Ramayanam, a study by VVS Aiyer, is a masterpiece of yesteryears. VVS, the author of the author, late patriot and freedom fighter, was also known for his literary acumen. He has rendered into English 2 classics of Tamil literature, one Tirukkural and another Kamba Ramayanam. The Kasi Tamil Sangamam, inaugurated by His Excellency, has earned a popularity among the erudite and the laity. The festival of Maharashtra, Gujarat, and several other regions are ensembles of national integration, for which the founder of Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, Mr. K.M. Munshi, strove very much. In this connection, I wish to tell the audience that His Excellency was immensely pleased when he received Kamba Ramayanam's English translation by Dr. H.V. Hande, our former minister. I am sure this book will also impress His Excellency and the reading public. Today's book comes under the Book University series of Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan. The person who receives the first copy, Dr. Priya Ramachandran, is a scholar very much interested in Kamba Ramayanam. Her lectures are quite interesting. Dr. Sudha Seshayan, former Vice Chancellor of Dr. MGR Medical University and now the Director of Sastra University, is also a scholar who can give a series of expositions on Kamba Ramayanam. Honorable Justice S. Jagadishan, who is part of city's public life, is a patron of arts and culture, lending support to many literary and art societies. We are honored by the esteemed presence of these dignitaries. Mr. Sikkal Gurucharan, a Carnatic Vidwan, has rendered melodiously some stanzas from Kamba Ramayanam. For all this, the Chennai Kendra of Bhavan places on record its warm appreciation to the Director, Mr. K.N. Ramaswamy, and the Deputy Director, Mr. K. Venkatachalam. Once again, I thank the Governor, our special invitees, and the audience. Thank you, friends. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much, sir. I think Nalli sir deserves a special round of applause. Avruடைய age, அவருடைய health, then he defied all that and he participated and made such a succinct speech. Now, I'm also but somehow no, he has several aces up his sleeve. He will come out with 101, 102 on his own. Come, let's listen to him.
Dignitaries on the dais, esteemed invitees present here. At the very outset, I would like to thank Sri K. Ramaswamy and Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan for taking upon themselves this noble task of coming up with the work, the magnum opus of great VVS Aiyer, Kamba Ramayana, a study. In fact, though formally Dr. Priya received the first copy, yesterday I had the benefit of having a copy when they came to invite me. And with a lot of curiosity, I read the book, continued through the night, and I was so deeply moved. I wondered how come this book has not reached the larger audience in our country. The great VVS Aiyer, we have heard about him. Earlier a speaker spoke a lot about him, and a lot more can be spoken about him. But my first, I would say, acquaintance with him or encounter with him, when I got his translation of Tirukkural. I must say that I have received more than a dozen translations of Tirukkural. Pardon me if I am audacious enough to say, but none could come as lucid, as full of life as the one by VVS Aiyer. You know, I have been reading Tirukkural for quite some time before I got this book. And then I got a sense it was a kind of clinical explanation, trying to give a meaning, translated according to his or her own genius or understanding, explained. But VVS gave life to every Kural. You read and it comes alive to you. And since then, I took a decision and I have been doing it. Any visitor who comes to Rajbhavan, foreign visitor from other parts of the country, that VVS Aiyer Tirukkural is one which I give, none other. I also wish, I'm not aware, if it is done, at least I'm not aware, someone to write his biography. We have read in pieces here and there. But the kind of life that he led, his biography would be a masterpiece of many things. The life in action, how the transformation at various stages he went through. And above all, as being coming from a background, my professional background, the way he dosed the British intelligence, British entire police, British secret police, by taking very innovative methods, that would be a thriller, even a spy thriller. I hope someone takes up this project and writes his biography. That would be an asset. This Kamba Ramayana, it makes that classic, the book written by the great Kamba, accessible to people like us who are not very conversant or fluent in Tamil, on people, those who do not know Tamil. It's a great service because he has not just translated, we all know that. It is his own genius, his own singular sense of beauty, as VVS tells in his book, that the key ideas, key images, and key symbols of Valmiki, he has used it to adorn his vision and form of the epic. That's the greatness of this person. Kamba as a poet, it can be a subject of numerous researches, as there are thousands of PhDs on Tulsidas who wrote Ramcharitmanas. I'm sure there could be thousands and thousands of PhD on Kamba as well. As far as the literary part of the beauty of it is concerned. But for me, Kamba was or remains a Bharat Nayakam. Bharat Nayakam, the one who helped build this country, Rashtra Bharat. You know, if I take a few minutes to elaborate, I know it is a long evening. We have all been settled for the last 2 hours. You know, our civilization, our Bharat, the civilization, we all know that it originated from Vedas. Rig Veda is the beginning, almost about 7,000 years ago. Because by now all the calculations, Mahabharata happened about 3,100 years before the Common Era, and the Vedas, the Rig Veda was at least 2,000 years before Mahabharata. So by all conservative estimations, it was 7,000 years ago, the seeds of Bharat, Rashtra, was sown in the Vedas. And the divine wisdom which the rishis revealed about the creator and the creation, that the creator, having created the creation, is present in every element of it. And so we are all one family, the universal oneness of all being, human, animals, plants, everything. We are all part of a family, that great wisdom that was revealed. There was one thing more, that the entire creation is harmonious. Entire creation is governed by immutable laws, Rit ka Siddhant. This immutable laws, which is the dharma, that keeps the whole creation in harmony. Dharma is defined as something that harmonizes, that keeps everyone together, every element of creation together. We know how Sri Krishna defines it in the Karna Parva, about dharma. That the one that harmonizes, that holds the diverse together as one. So this dharma, which is holding the whole creation, and the humans being the only species endowed with being at the highest level of evolution among all these species, with the ability of buddhi, intellect, and manipulation, that if it is vivekahin, if it is not with viveka, then it can be very destructive, it can disrupt the harmony, it can create disaster. And that is why the foundation of a dharmic order, dharmic life, how the society should conduct its affair, how individual should conduct his or her own affair with respect to himself or herself and with respect to the rest, so that everyone is in harmony. That dharmic order was also elaborated, and our rishis, our Vedic rishis, they lived that. They lived a dharmic way of life, and they taught us. But then, for a common person, not a very educated person, how does this message go? And here comes, this is the beauty of this land, that the story of Sri Rama. Ramayana. It tells us about every aspect of life. How do I conduct myself as an individual, as a son, as a father, as a brother, as a husband, other characters, as wife, as a king, ruler, every aspect. When met with an adverse situation, how do you deal with that? Every aspect of life that one can conceive of is there in Ramayana, in this book. Now this Adi Kavi Valmiki composed it in Sanskrit. And Sanskrit was a language of scholarship all over the country. From here to Kashmir to Assam, all over, Sanskrit was the language through which people, they learned these things. But what about the common folks? If the society has to lead a dharmic life, dharmic way of, it has to reach them. And reach them in a simple way so that one is able to connect. And the first person to do that was great Kamba. When he composed it in Tamil, make it accessible to the common person. One did not know Sanskrit. In such a lucid way, such a lively way, with illustrations, with examples, that one doesn't have to strain one's mind. One just have to imbibe and follow that. Now this is a story of Sri Rama carried to our common folks in various languages, beginning Tamil, subsequently in other languages. Tulsidas did it in Brajavasa, Avadi, close to Hindi, and we have in every language. And today, Sri Rama is present all over the country. No story, no Puranic story, no epic or the story of the epic has permeated our Bharatiya society, the heart of every Bharatiya, as Ramayana has done. I have listened to Ramayana, the story of Sri Rama, among the tribals community of the Northeast, whom otherwise we consider them as people who are behind in civilization, but they know that they are familiar with Sri Rama. All over. We have seen how, when his birthplace was desecrated 500 years ago by an invader, the community, the people from all over the country, they remained agitated, they remained concerned for its reconstruction. And we also saw when the whole country was euphoric in January 21st, 22nd January of 2024, when we had this Ramlalas, the temple was inaugurated. The whole country was Ramamai all over. So this, the uniting the creating the Bharat as a dharmic society, dharmic Rashtra. The values which were given to us by the great Vedas, making those values accessible and intelligible to the common folks. The story of Sri Rama. A common person doesn't necessarily have to read Vedas and understand its nuances. No, not necessary. Just Sri Rama. Because his life, on the life of the characters in Ramayana, it tells you all. And that is why, in fact, I have seen in my village, long back in early 50s and early 60s, no electricity, nothing. But the people, the farmers, used to come back after a day's work, hard work. Otherwise tired, but after having their dinner, they would assemble with all the local musical equipments and they would sing Ramayana. Of course, they did Tulsi Ramayana. But other places are in different languages. Because a story of Sri Rama can be told in infinite ways. Tulsidas, he writes, I will just tell the quote, and I am sure, though it is written in Awadhi, but you will understand, all of you will understand. He says, Hari Ananta, Hari Katha Ananta. Hari Anant, Sri Rama, divine is Anant, infinite. And infinite are the ways in which the story can be told. So when we have the variations in a story, it is nothing surprising. Because this is the beauty of the divine. I'm not sure how many people, non-Tamil people, will be able to learn Tamil and enjoy the beauty of Kamba Ramayanam. But VVS Aiyer has made it easy for us. And the beauty is, in writing the story, wherever he has quoted Kamba, he has put it in verses. It is not just in a prose style, no, he's written the verses. And the verses are so lyrical. It only an accomplished poet, versatile, accomplished poet can do that. This was the character, the personality of this person, the great VVS Aiyer. He has made it easy for all of us. The fact that it has not seen as much light as it could have seen, and now that the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan has taken upon itself, I would like to see that this book reaches every nook and corner of our country. Yesterday when Mr. Ramaswamy came and gave me the book, I have only one request to him, that make the font a little larger so that people of my age can read it without much difficulty, because it's very small. And he has agreed, gladly agreed that he will do it. Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, we know that how it has been at the forefront of not only preserving our heritage, but propagating it as well. There's so much, and they have done it in the most adverse circumstances. At most adverse circumstances for almost nearly 80 years. Beginning mid-30s, till 2014 they had a difficult time. Because I have seen many a times in this very hall, or in my meetings, that while Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, the book is given, Mr. Ramaswamy will never forget to say, we are very secular. Yes, we are all. That is the beauty of it, that we are all secular. There is no doubt about it. Our secularism is comprehensive, all-inclusive. It is not exclusive. It's not European. It doesn't say that you and I. We are us. He's right. But then, to appease the sentiment, the others, those who would the moment you say about Ramayana or something like that, the story, people, how can you talk about this? We are secular. No, we are really secular. If we talk about Sri Rama, we talk about, because without that, this Bharat doesn't exist. So when I said Bharat Nayagam, because he was the first who took the story of Sri Rama from the scholarly language, from the scholars to the common folks. And it is this which has shaped our chitta, our consciousness of every Bharatiya. We know that our country, our Rashtra is defined by our own special chitta, the consciousness. And since Sri Rama lives in every heart, every Bharatiya, and that is how our collective consciousness is one. And in this, the role of Kamba, I think, is hugely underappreciated, I'm afraid, as of now. It has to be duly appreciated. His scholarly, his poetry, his styles, literary, all apart, brilliant, there's no doubt about it. But the fact that he was able to create this Rashtra, because Vedic rishis, they left it in their own style. Taking it to the common folk was responsibility of people like him. That is what he did. Now that the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan has taken the step, I'm sure it will be able to take it forward. And we need to propagate it in the rest of the country. I would also like Kamba to be translated in other languages. My fear is whether we will have competent translator. Because we have seen the translation of many of the text. It becomes like a forensic, you have on the body of a person in the table, dead person. Every part of the body is there, but the soul is missing. Now, that's forensic translation. No, that is not. But if we have, and I'm sure we should be able to have, to identify people, it should be translated in other languages as well, so that the rest of the world, the rest of the Bharat should also get to know about him. Because there is a story which I heard in Kashi, that Tulsidas, when he wrote this Ramcharitamanas, which actually, it went in the heart of entire North, he was hugely inspired by Kamba. And the story goes, I'm not confident about the historicity of it, but the story that people there, they say is, perhaps it was, one Tamil saint from here, Kumar Gurbar, when he went and when he recited, Tulsidas was deeply influenced, and then he wrote. Because Tulsidas himself was a follower of Ramanand, who was a follower of Ramanujacharya. So in that tradition, he was already a devotee of Sri Rama. But when he heard the story of Sri Rama through the Kamba, then he was deeply inspired. So that is how. And so we need to appreciate Kamba as the builder of this Bharat as a Rashtra. This initiative, I once again thank Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan and all of us, all of present here, and wish it a very, very huge, great success to carry on the movement. It has just begun. I'm wondering that how come to my knowledge, we don't have a Kambar chair. Do we have Kambar chair? Pondicherry, no, not in Tamil Nadu. We don't have a Kambar chair. So we don't have a Bharati chair, we don't have a Kambar chair. I think these are the gaping, very, very loud deficiency, I must say. And we must fulfill that. I'm sure in coming days we'll be able to fill the gap. Thank you very much. Thank you, friend. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we owe 3 thanks to the Honorable Governor today, apart from sparing his valuable time. One is for releasing this book, and a pleasant announcement to you, this book, which is priced at 500 rupees, will be available for 350 rupees for the next 3 days at Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan bookstall. That is number one. And then we should thank him for rechristening Kavi Chakravarti Kamban with a new and beautiful title, Bharat Nayaka. So a warm round of applause to him. The third thing is, he has always been harping on the concept of dharma. Human mind requires constant reminders. We should thank him for reminding us, provoking our conscience towards dharma. And it was very beautifully expounded by Dr. Sudha Seshayan and Dr. Priya Ramachandranji also during their talks. Simply speaking, dharma is appropriateness in thought, action, attitude towards a person or a thing or a circumstance. Rama and Krishna followed this dharma. That is why we worship them as gods. And it was this dharma which was given a poetic face by Kamban, picking up that great epic. And this was this dharma which was exemplified in a sterling manner by VVS Aiyer. And it is the most fitting manner to celebrate his memory. And I would once again thank Sri Ramaswamy Garu, Ramaswamy Ji, Ramaswamy Avargal, everyone for this initiative. And to propose a formal vote of thanks, I would request Sri Venkatachalam, Deputy Director. And before he thanks you, I should thank him for inviting me to anchor this honorable function. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramananji. I think he has made my life very, very simple. He had thanked everybody who's there on the dais. I have got few duties to deliver, failing which I will not complete this evening. So I will touch upon just 3 to 5 more minutes. I begin with, I would invite Mr. Isai K. Ramanan. I would take this opportunity to request our Honorable Governor to kindly honor today's host, the knowledgeable and renowned poet Isai K. Ramanan. His contribution to today's function has been is invaluable, and it is only fitting that we acknowledge the exceptional role in making this occasion truly memorable.